On November 4, 2025, routine UPS cargo flight turned into one of the deadliest aviation disasters in U.S. cargo history. The aircraft, operating as UPS Flight 2976, had just begun its takeoff from Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport when everything went wrong in a matter of seconds. The freighter was a McDonnell Douglas MD-11F, tail number N259UP, or more than 3 decades old airframe, originally built in 1991 and later converted for cargo duty. FAA documentation shows the jet had been cleared for departure toward Honolulu, Hawaii, carrying a heavy fuel load typical for long-range operations. Just moments after takeoff thrust was applied, witnesses noticed a burst of fire beneath the left wing. As the aircraft accelerated down runway 17R, the situation escalated instantly. Surveillance footage and on-site investigators later confirmed something extremely rare and catastrophic. The jet's number 1 engine separated from the wing during the takeoff roll. Despite leaving the ground, the aircraft climbed only to about 100 feet of GL, barely airborne. Losing an engine, especially one attached to the wing, created massive aerodynamic imbalance. The MD-11 rolled sharply left, unable to maintain lift or climb. Within seconds, it veered off its flight path and descended into a dense industrial zone roughly 3 miles south of the airport. The jet first tore through the roof of a UPS supply chain warehouse, carving a 90-meter scar across the structure. Its collapsing left wing then struck fuel storage tanks at a nearby petroleum recycling plant, triggering a huge fireball that shook nearby neighborhoods. The fuselage and remaining structures scattered across truck lots and auto parts yards, leaving wreckage spread over half a mile. People living nearby described a scene unlike anything they had ever witnessed, columns of dark smoke rising across the skyline, ground tremors from secondary explosions, and emergency sirens echoing from all directions. Authorities issued an immediate shelter-in-place order for a 5-mile radius due to smoke, structural hazards, and burning chemicals. Tragically, the loss of life was severe. All 3 crew members died, along with numerous individuals on the ground working in the warehouses, truck yards, and surrounding facilities. The confirmed death toll rose to 14, with several others hospitalized in critical condition. NTSB and FAA investigators quickly retrieved both the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, which remarkably survived the intense fire. Early analysis revealed that an alarm began sounding about 37 seconds after takeoff thrust was applied, and it continued until impact. The crew fought desperately to counter the violent roll and massive loss of lift, but had only seconds to respond. The MD-11's design offers little margin during low-altitude engine failures, especially one involving structural separation. Because of the seriousness of the failure, the FAA issued an emergency airworthiness directive, grounding or requiring immediate inspection of all MD-11 aircraft in the U.S. fleet. Operators worldwide temporarily halted 1,511 flights as a precaution. Investigators are now examining the engine pylon, attachment bolts, structural fatigue, corrosion history, and prior maintenance records. The aircraft had recently undergone work for a cracked fuel tank and corrosion found on internal beams, though it is too early to say if these issues contributed to the accident. Fuel load is another factor. With roughly 38,000 gallons of fuel on board for the long haul to Honolulu, the impact and fire were vastly intensified. Heavy takeoff weight also reduces climb performance, making any failure during rotation far more dangerous. The crash shook Louisville deeply. Workers at UPS's Worldport hub lost colleagues and friends. Local residents questioned the placement of fuel facilities so close to active flight paths. Pilots worldwide mourned the loss of fellow aviators and discussed long-standing challenges with the MD-11's handling, especially in asymmetric thrust conditions. Inside large hangars converted to investigation bays, NTSB teams began reassembling parts of the wing and engine mount to determine exactly how and why the left engine detached. Metallurgy experts are analyzing fracture surfaces to determine whether fatigue, corrosion, or sudden overload caused the failure. UPS, meanwhile, faced both emotional and operational consequences. The grounding of part of its fleet caused shipping delays just ahead of peak season, and the company set up support centers and memorials for affected families. For the communities around the crash site, the emotional scars will take far longer to heal. Memorials, vigils, and murals now mark the area where so many lives were lost in seconds, and in training centers across the world, pilots now study the lessons of Flight 2976, reminders of the razor-thin margins during heavy takeoff and the extreme importance of rigorous maintenance on aging aircraft. As investigators work toward a final report, one truth remains at the center of this tragedy. A single point of mechanical failure created a chain reaction from which there was no recovery. If you found this video informative, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, STAR BEYOUND. And in the comments below, share your thoughts. What do you think investigators will ultimately conclude about the cause of this devastating accident? Thank you for watching.